Y'all, I did not realize this. I didn't realize that friendship in your 30s would require a whole calendar system. Like, didn't realize. Nobody told me. But welcome to being an adult and maintaining friendships in your 30s, especially if they are global friendships, I suppose. But for real, y'all, I feel like it's so very easy to lose a lot of your friendships, particularly when you are friends with highly ambitious women who are traveling the world, building businesses. Like life gets to lifing, right? They are on their journey to home ownership, or they are learning new languages, or they are like they're doing a variety of really cool different interesting projects and things in the world and in their businesses. And then what that means is that if you don't figure out a way to make your friendships a priority with them, and they don't figure that out either, the friendship just kind of drifts away. And it's not that you are not friends. It's actually more likely that it's one of those situations where you just never talk really. And then when you get in a room, it's like y'all never left. But you rarely have the chance to get into a room. And you're probably not going to see them for another couple of years, maybe when they cycle through your country again. They're stopping over or something along those lines, or they deliberately come visit you for whatever reason, right? Or you go on a retreat or something like that, or maybe if it's even like a yearly retreat that you meet up with your besties and have. And so it's really easy for us to like lose the people that we deeply care about and want to be interacting with, particularly when that friendship is global. And so I kind of wanted to share what I do because I have friends from all over the world. Now I have folks in the UK, I have a friend in Sweden, I have a friend in the US, I have friends in Canada. So like my friends are pretty spread out. And so I kind of wanted to share like how I maintain my global friendships at this grown age when you kind of probably maybe supposed to have figured this out by now. And we're still in the process of figuring it out. Yeah. Here is what is working for me because I actually had to build a system for this because I realized that if I didn't, I wouldn't talk to these people. I would go months without hearing from this friend. And it's not that they didn't want to talk to me, it's literally that we didn't prioritize it. We were not intentional about it. We just assumed that, like when we were young adults, teens, friendship would just happen. Loki, it never happened for me. It never just happened for me. So I don't know why I assumed it would just happen now. Bruh, it doesn't just happen. Intention and effort and structure is required. And so this is kind of what I had to do. First off, what has really worked for me is Google calendaring my friendships. As crazy as that sounds, using my Google Calendar, and actually it probably doesn't even sound crazy, but it probably sounds very stiff and professional because we only really schedule meetings when it's for business or for a job. We don't or for like an organization that we're a part of. We don't schedule virtual Zoom meetings for our friends. That's not something that like culturally um we do. It's not natural. As a matter of fact, I have a friend that I actually have not been able to schedule because she's just like, girl, you should be able to call me up whenever you need to call me up. I this calendar foolishness. Meanwhile, she has three girls, a whole business that she's helping to run. She's the right hand woman in a like really amazing business, and just is like crazy busy all the time. And I'm just like, girl, this is exactly why We need the calendar. Like, help me, help us. But I get it. I get it because it feels very stilted and unnatural. It doesn't feel as easy or as authentic as we may want the vibe of our friendships to feel. The sort of low pressure, really relaxed, kiki, sit down and chat kind of a vibe. Like we don't that doesn't equal Google Calendar and Zoom meeting. However, if we don't Google Calendar it and Zoom meeting it, I'm not gonna see you. And I'm not gonna know what's going on in your life. And you're not gonna know what's going on in mine. And so literally, I've had to Google Calendar my meetings with my friends. Especially because like and I think that some of my friends really get this, especially those of us who are it's really convenient for some of my friends actually who are running their own businesses and they have a small team. When I say small team, it's them, maybe one or two other people in the business. And then they hire contractors from time to time, or they work with an agency one off or something like that, right? In those situations, they because they're so used to like running on their calendar, it's a lot easier for them to be like, okay, yes, let's get this on the calendar. Because we entrepreneurs know if it's not on your calendar, you're not doing it. If it's not on your calendar, it will not get done. Yes. And so it's a lot, I think, when you have high performing, highly ambitious business owner friends, girlfriends, it's really I think a lot of them really understand because the inclination is to default to the calendar anyway, especially when because our work is online, right? Like a lot of the women that I'm friends with that are doing travel or like spread across the world, that kind of thing, they are running their business remotely. They don't have to, they're not physically tied to being in one location. And so what that then means is they like they're navigating things like time zones and navigating things like, okay, I'm traveling next week, but I have a client call or I have a group call, like I'm gonna make sure that both get done. And so the Google Calendar really helps us with that. Tools like Calendly, where we can book a time on one another's calendar without freaking out about time zones. Great, really, really great, helpful, super helpful, right? Um, but yeah, I book a call. I just book the call. It's blocked off in the calendar. The calendar gets looked at every evening before the next day. So we see whose calls we've got next. And we're very clear that like this way it takes, and what it actually does for me is that it takes the pressure off because I don't have to think as hard about when I last talked to this person. I don't have to feel guilty for not having talked to them in a while because actually we already booked this call. It's happening. So it starts to become more of an autopilot thing. Like the irony of this situation is that the thing that doesn't feel natural, putting the meeting in Google Calendar, actually makes the entire friendship more natural and authentic, if you will, because then I don't have to think about it and they don't have to think about it. And neither of us has to wonder or feel bad about, did we catch up this time? Did we catch up this week? Like, or anything like that. Did we catch up in the last 6 months? No, because it's already in the calendar. We know when the next one is. And if it's not, um, I will usually also put a reminder in my calendar to follow up with this person. Like I'll just put like a 5 minute um like event in my Google Calendar that says, hey, DM XYZ person to book a call, book a time on their calendar. Right. That's certain whenever those moments come to me, I drop them in the calendar. I try to do that as immediately as possible because again, it just makes the whole relationship a lot easier to keep up with, and it keeps these people in my life in a way that doesn't become tedious for either them or me. And when I say tedious, I mean like a weight to carry. Like there's too many feelings around misconnections or not staying in touch enough or like not having this person in my life and missing them and that kind of thing. Like it really helps when I know the call is in the calendar and I will be talking to so and so in the next couple of weeks, right? That or at the very least I put a reminder in my calendar to follow up with this person. The next thing, the second thing that I really do that helps my friendships is when we finally get on that call, we usually book the next call at the end of that call. So I don't have instances where I randomly remember, oh, right, this person, I need to message them very often and dropping that in that kind of, hey, DM this person to book a cam in their calendar. I don't, that doesn't happen very often because the call is already usually booked at the end of the last one. It just makes the whole situation a lot easier. It makes the whole process simpler and I don't have to worry about when the next call is happening. They don't have to worry about when the next call is happening. We just pull up our calendars at the same time at the end of the call and we just lock it in. All done. Boom. It really, really helps with just how natural the friendship starts to feel again, even if they're not in your life on a day-to-day basis, because you talk to them on a regular basis. So you catch up, you hear all the news, you find out who they're dating or what's going on in their family or what's happening with the kids or where they're traveling to next or what other project they're working on in the business. Like all of that stuff becomes um really easy and simple to lean into when we don't have to worry about the logistics of when and how we're going to see each other because we already decided that at the end of our last call. And then I think the other thing that I really do that helps my friends, helps us maintain our friendships, even though our friendships are global, is putting other events in my calendar related to my friendships. So obviously there are things like the birthdays and things like that, but I also try to put like milestones. So if a friend of mine, for example, started a new job, I'll put like a 30-day milestone in my calendar so I can send them like a quick message just to say, hey, this is your first 30 days at the end of the job, right? Like, how has that been for you? Those kinds of things. Like I'll put milestones for what I know they have going on in their lives in my calendar. And that will really help me to also stay on top of their lives and also do the kind of check that I would want to do but wouldn't remember to do if I didn't calendar it. Because I would want to check in on the first 30 days in any new job. I would want to check in on how the book sales are going. I would want to check in on how the writing is going or on how their podcast is going. Like I want to check in on these things. Um but if I don't write it down, I don't remember that that specific date is attached to that specific milestone. And so I forget to check in around that date. And therefore, I don't get to be the good friend that I want to be because I didn't have a system that supported that desire. Right? Like that's the to me, that's the plus of putting it in my calendar is like creating this system that supports the desires that I have for my friendships. And if I didn't have that, I would not, I'd be relying on myself to be a good friend and to follow through on those desires and intentions. And not that that's a bad thing, but in an increasingly hectic life of adulting and lifing and managing all the stuff and prioritizing everything, it can be very, very easy to forget that this date is attached to this milestone, even if you don't forget the milestone. Because what can easily happen is I'll because I have a call coming up with them, I'll follow up on the call, right? I'll find out how that thing was or how it went or whatever, whatever. But missing the particular date is not something that I would prefer, especially when the milestone is a significant one in that person's life. And so linking the date to that event for them and adding that to my calendar to remind me to reach out to them feels very it feels very aligned with the sort of action that I would want to take to support my friends. And that system really supports me. And it's this kind of like habit stacking vibe. If you notice what I'm talking about, like booking the meeting at the end, booking your upcoming meeting at the end of the last one. And if I hear like a milestone on that call, booking it at the same time as well, right? Like blocking it in my calendar at that time too. All of those kinds of things are really, really um, helpful to do in the moment of connection, because that is your moment of highest intent, right? It's not necessarily a moment of highest desire, because you always desire to be a good friend to this person. That desire doesn't disappear. But because you're connecting in that moment, there's a really high intention in that moment. And therefore, it makes sense to prioritize actions coming out of that high intention in that moment, and give your resource the future version of yourself to ensure that that intention gets followed through on, right? And so booking it on the calendar in the moment of that call is really helpful. Google Calendar and Zoom are out here supporting me in having really good global friendships, is really what I'm trying to say. But I'd be curious about what tools you use to support yourselves in having global friendships. If there are, I saw a post, and maybe I'll drop the link in the description box below. I saw a post from someone where she was sharing a few options of like things that you can do with friends who don't live in the same area as you. And some of them would work really well. Like she had this idea of, or she suggested doing things like doing errands virtually together. That works really well if you're in the same time zone. If you're not in the same time zone, or your time zone is like half a world apart, like if I'm talking to my friend in the UK and I'm in Jamaica, we're not doing errands at the same time necessarily, although the UK is not as bad. If I had friends in like Central Asia, that would be worse. Or South Asia, like that would be a different story, right? But yeah, I feel like there is Southeast Asia, I should say. um I feel like there's just so many ideas out there for supporting yourself in maintaining your friendships, especially when we start to pursue all these things in our lives that we want to pursue that take us geographically and physically away from the place where our friendships began and originated. So how do we maintain that when and keep that connection when we're all spread all over the world? This is how I do it. I'd love to hear how you do it. And hear any other obstacles or things like that that you've run into as you have been maintaining global friendships. If you want to drop those in the comments below, please feel free. You can also go ahead and DM me on Instagram. The link to my Instagram is also in the description box below. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining me on this one. I look forward to hearing about your global friendships, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.